Today, I'm extremely excited to be joined by Xuhui, managing partner of Foothill Ventures. Welcome.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You have quite an illustrious career, and we only have a limited amount of time. So I imagine that at some point in the future, we'll be doing a sequel to this conversation. But for now, would you mind starting off for those that may not be familiar with you, giving a brief introduction of your background?
Yeah, so I'm a managing partner at Foothill Ventures, a venture fund we started 8 years ago, and investing early stage deep tech startups in the Valley. We're based in downtown Los Altos. Before that, going all the way back, I originally grew up in China. I went to Tsinghua University for my undergrad degree. And then after that, I came to the States to got my PhD in University of Minnesota in EECS, focusing on machine learning. And so after that, I built a 20-year career applying machine learning to different industries, including two startups, both of which have a large acquisition exit. In both cases, I was the founding technologist. And then also spent 5.5 years at Yahoo as a senior executive. I was the VP engineering under Mercer Meyer, in charge of Yahoo's global display advertising platform. And when I was at Yahoo, I started to do some angel investment, and then one thing lead to another, and eventually a few friends and I decided to raise this Foothill Venture Fund series.
Well, exciting stuff, and quite the accomplishments throughout. And without focusing on some of the later stuff that many people would, I'd like to actually start. You casually mentioned you went to Tsinghua University, which is essentially the MIT of China. Typically, people that go to that caliber of university are born to be engineers. They don't just become engineers. Was there a moment in your life when it hit you that this is who I am?
Yeah, I can distinctly remember I was probably just 12 years old. It was 1983. Basic language was just introduced to China by a computer scientist professor, and he was teaching everybody basic programming on TV. And my family at that time, we don't even own a TV. So I was watching it on a borrowed 9-inch black and white TV set, learning basic on a piece of paper because we don't even own a computer, right? But it fascinates me how this like very foreign alien concept of programming language can drive the computer to do amazing things. And so I think that's the earliest I remember that I was just totally enthralled by this world that I don't even have, right? I just have a piece of paper in front of borrowed TV set. But fast forward to when I was the age of, and when I was 17 to get into Tsinghua University, I also noticed that I'm broadly curious about many miscellaneous topics. I love to remember all these like crazy facts about things. So I end up not choosing computer science because I want to have a more diverse, playground to play with. So I chose automation, which is kind of similar to EECS in Tsinghua. Yeah.
Very neat. And now if we come up and focus on the more recent, Foothill Ventures focuses on investing in deeply technical startups, very, very early, and many which are at seed stage or even pre-seed stage, which fascinates me because you
hmm
have to make a lot of early bets. These
hmm
companies are building enabling technologies rather than going for the next killer app. Are
Mm.
these are these elements central to your thesis?
Yeah, so there are thousands of VCs in Silicon Valley. So when we started in 2017, we know that we're not nearly the biggest. We're not nearly the earliest in any area. So we want to stand out by having a somewhat differentiated thesis. So picking early stage deep tech is our decision based on who we are. So all four of our partners have been entrepreneurs. We have more than $2 billion exits of our own companies in the past. And most of us have been senior executive at big tech companies before. So all in all, we feel like we are better with technology risk. We're better in helping early stage founders, first time founders, to avoid mistakes, to scale up more efficiently. But rather than for us to betting on the market, betting on consumer taste, those are the things that we're not good at. So picking early stage deep tech companies really plays to our strength of we're very comfortable taking technology risk. We're entrepreneurs ourselves. But on the other hand, we do like to invest in killer apps. It just takes more luck, right? So nobody would say they don't like to find the next killer app, but it definitely takes a bit of luck.
Absolutely. Your investment span and how we got connected is there's a lot of synergy between the interest and investments that you make and that we make. So it spans AI, robotics, semiconductors, medtech, and energy. What common themes do you see that unite all of these sectors, and why do you pursue having such breadth in your portfolio?
Yeah, so once we decided to focus on deep tech and then also looking at our backgrounds, I come out of EECS, but I have more emphasis on AI and software. My partners are on semiconductor and also biotech and then deep tech and optimization. So we each cover one or two areas of technical fields. But more importantly, we believe that when we are in 2016, 2017, when we're contemplating this, and then it is still true and probably even more true today, is that we are on the wave of multiple innovations in multiple areas, as you have mentioned, AI, robotics, energy, and precision medicine, sequencing, and CRISPR technique, and all these things. It's unprecedented in that not only there's a multitude of deeply impactful innovations happening simultaneously, but they're also interacting with each other, become force multipliers with AI in the middle. But AI also depend on energy. AI also is playing a role in robotics, and robotics is furthering the impact of AI and energy into many different areas. And so these are the common theme is really betting on deeply impactful innovation that could affect a very large industry or sometimes even more than one industries. And that's how we pick those areas.
Fascinating. You talked just now about how you pick the areas. Let's move the conversation to how you pick the companies, and specifically, what characteristics do you look for in founders? And similarly, what characteristics do you screen for or try to filter out?
Yeah, that's such a insightful question, because when we look at deeply technical teams or startups, we look at innovation. Ultimately, it all comes down to the people, the founders, because in the very early stage of startup journey, it's really hard to predict the whole journey and let alone the outcome, right? So there's very limited amount of data evidence that this company is going to scale, going to find product market fit, it's going to beat out all the competitors. That's why most investors invest in later stage, in the growth round, in the A/B round or C round, and so on and so forth. For us to make a smart bet in the early stages, very high weight is put on the founders. And so that's where we try to pick the winning team. And what I remember, one of our investors asked me, like, "Oh, I know you have great network. You probably can easily find a lot of 10% or the top 10% founders, but how do you make sure they're top 1%ers, right? Because that's what it needs to win in this highly competitive field." And so that stuck with me. And then we systematically look at our portfolio founders, and we try to contrast the top 1% founders with the rest of still very good founders. And so we try to run regression analysis based on some of the data we have. And but ultimately, there are some signs you can look for, like, are they really crisp in presenting their ideas? Are they, therefore, they're good at sales? Are they good at recruiting good talented people and retain them? Are they good at governance? But all of these are just surface level. What's more core to be a top 1% founder? I think it's mental, right? So I remember talking to, in a interesting occasion, I was hosting a panel and an event that's the U.S. Olympic team, figure skating team's sports psychologist. And she was saying that, do you know that in a Olympic level competition, the gold medal winner and the dead last, the 12th person, their physical capability, the difference between them is less than 2%. So the rest is all mental. Like, can you take the pressure? Can you work through the pain? Can you perform at the very best world level under tremendous stress and under tremendous pressure and expectation? The crowd, the coach, yourself put on you, right? So I think it's the same thing of startup founders. One of our best founders, and when I look at how he operates, like every rejection, every criticism, he turns into energy, right? He turns into, the fuel for him to go even faster. And then he enjoys those challenges. And you cannot teach that. You have to find it in yourself. And that makes a huge difference.
I love the passion in which you talk about that as well. It's very resonant and comes through. You mentioned to me in an earlier conversation that we had, participating in strong investor syndicates is important. Why does that benefit founders and co-investors?
So we noticed that in the venture space, early stage investors tend to be more collaborative with each other, while later stage investors tend to be more exclusive, right? Oh, this is, so and so's deal, so we stay out of it. Or this is our deal, they better stay out of it, right? When you get to the later stage, it's more all or nothing, right? And because everybody can see clearly now, like, this is a winning product, this is a winning company, whoever can get to it first, they want to own it, right? In the early stages, because they're so uncertain and there's so much risk still involved, there's so much work still involved. And so first of all, big funds are not able to get to it because they want to move big amount of money. They want to scale in a much grander scale. But more importantly, for early stage investors, collaborating with each other would share the risk and share the resources and then make the company more successful. So not only picking the right team, but also making the right team to be more successful. And so that's why I think the early investor syndicate is super important, in that share the risk, share the resources. But there's that second level of importance in that, believe it or not, building startup is a very lonely business for founders, right? So having strong investors, people who understand your area, passionate about what you do, and have done a few things before, to sit next to you and then can answer questions, share some pro tips, or share, even just to be a sounding board, is tremendously helpful. On the flip side, having the wrong investors always asking irrelevant questions, or bring even worse, bring distractions down the road, that could be very taxing as well, right? So finding the right initial investor syndicate also have this, when you go to the next round, right? Are these people pulling in the same direction? They show up to the new investor being the right kind of people or being distractions, right? So that's why I feel like this is important in those 2, 3 different levels.
Absolutely, and you keyed in on something that I try to explain to founders all the time, or potential founders, is that leadership is lonely, and
Mhm.
so surrounding yourself with good partners is important. One of the reasons I was so attracted to Foothill Ventures is you truly are founder friendly.
Mhm.
And beyond just financial backing, how do you go to support companies that you invest in?
Yeah, first of all, I want to explain why we think that way. It's because we've been entrepreneurs ourselves. And so we know that how difficult it is, and what are the things that will be super helpful if we have met the right investors, and then now we can pay it forward to the new entrepreneurs come after us. So when we surveyed our portfolio founders every year from the very first year, throughout the years, consistently they brought up 3 things that they want us to help the most. Is fundraising is number one, and hiring the initial team is number 2, and then introducing customers is number 3. So fundraise, hiring, and BD are the top 3 areas in the early years we invest in our platform.
Mm.
Uh, but we don't stop there, because there are things that beyond table stakes is that strategies, playbooks for different areas. How do you run a board meeting? How do you prepare board deck? How do you prepare data rooms? Vendor resources. How do you find the best vendor? How do you get discount? How do you get free credit the most effective way from all these cloud providers? And
Mm.
so we leverage the size of portfolio, for example, to refer the best vendors to each other. And so we have
Mhm.
a very simple rule, right? As long as there's one portfolio company strongly endorse a vendor, we would onboard this vendor, not before, but only after that, we would onboard into our platform and then share with the rest of portfolio companies, and so on and so forth. And then we our playbooks are loved by our first time founders. Then when they prepare the board deck, they wow the investors, right? But bit by bit, all these things I think really gave us this feedback of being founder friendly and being able to punch above our weights, even though we're not a very very big fund, but we are able to consistently out hire and out help many even bigger funds.
So speaking of that first keystone element you talked about,
Mm,
fundraising.
mm,
So what advice would you give to founders that are in that process of crafting their pitch for that first fundraise? And then a follow-up to that, once they've done that and are successful, what advice would you give them in evaluating potential investors to partner with?
mm. Great questions. I would start from the first one, which is how do you prepare for fundraising? Uh, I think there are many ways to do it well. It all grounds on the homework you do before you even get into preparing your fundraise deck. I remember that one of our superstar teams, Supio, in our current fund, they're an AI legal tech company. And the 2 founders are very young. They don't have legal background. But before they
Hmm.
even write their first memo or go out to pitch, they talk to 200 lawyers, right? They did their homework, they map out everyone's workflow, they find their common pain points, they form their thesis, and then when they are finally time to talk to institutional investors, not only they already have done the homework, they have the insights, they have angel investors from many of those early lawyers they talk to. They even have the business getting started. So nothing beats preparation, right? So on the flip side, I see that one common error many founders make is not only not doing enough homework, but attempt to make up the answer on the spot or try to
Mm,
hide some of the gaps in their logic. And so nothing frustrates investors more than uh, you clearly are making up your answers or not doing enough homework and not owning up to it, right? And then the other thing is that every business has risks. Every proposal has weaknesses. And a good approach is actually to bring this up first before
mm,
investor asks you about it. This is common psychology. First of all, it shows up that you have integrity, you're honest, you're genuine, you're fully aware of, what are the risks and what are the weaknesses in this, and then you prepare to face them,
mm,
right? And not only that, you're not trying to hide it from the investors, because this is a total red flag if the investors think like, oh, there are clearly some problems in this pitch I can think of just in a minute. So what else you're hiding from me, right? But
mm,
if you bring it up, you say, okay, these are the things that why you shouldn't invest in me. It's risky, it's costly, and it's very difficult to do. But if you trust me, I'm ready to face that challenge. And then the investor said, okay, he mentioned all these things. I couldn't think of anything else that's wrong with this. So let's do it, right? So that really flipped the psychology around. But then you
and
have the second part of the question, right? About investor. How do you pick? That's really a very insightful question, because that's not most of the founders don't do that. We encourage them to say, hey, we would love to provide references from our portfolio company, not only the successful ones, but also the founder have struggled, right?
mm,
So that you can talk to them when they're struggling, how do we act and how do we help? And then when they're successful, how do we act and how do we help? And I think the smart founders should do this kind of reverse due diligence of every investor. Ask them that,
mm.
how would you help? What else do you bring besides your capital? And how do you think and you can help me to set up successful for the next round? And how else can you help me on BD and customer intros and hiring and strategy? So that's always we would encourage people to do.
Wow, I love that. And it's actually advice that we give people that are interviewing as well is have examples of your work. So don't just tell me what you would do, but
Mhm,
give me examples of what you've done in the past and prove it. And that's just what
mhm,
you're doing there. So if
mhm,
we're talking about the second tenet, the second keystone milestone you're talking about, which is hiring your first team,
mhm,
the verticals in which you're investing in are extremely exciting and they're extremely hot. The
mhm,
AI, the robotics, the semiconductors, the
mhm,
biotech, the energy.
mhm,
Therefore, the talent pools in there are extremely
mhm,
hard to attract at this point.
mhm.
What advice do you give early stage founders who are starting to grow their teams, and strategies you've seen portfolio founders use to successfully attract and land the best
Mhm.
talent?
Yeah, such an important question. I think people underestimate the importance of the first few hires. They know hiring is important, but they just don't realize how extremely important. As a matter of fact, I would say that probably the most important job a CEO can do is hiring the initial set of people. And so this really hits me when I was Yahoo and I got an email from Vinod that, hey, I want to talk to you. I was like, what? Like out of blue? Like, I don't know Vinod. Like, how did he know me? Right. So I got to go talk to him, right? Because he's such a large figure in the venture space. He probably doesn't even remember me, right? Because he's probably talked to thousands of people, and I actually went to visit his firm twice. But the thing that hits me, and I realized why he reached out to me, is that he shared that despite his busy schedule, he spent probably 30, 40 hours a week just on recruiting for his companies. So he wanted to recruit me, right? So like, no. Okay, so thank you very much, but I have other plans. But it really inspiring in that, someone like him still spends so much time, and it's not an isolated case. All the big executives, successful companies, successful leaders do that. Here's why. Your first 5 people, right, for a startup, not only it helps you to do the work to make impossible possible, they also help you to set the culture. They also are the faces of the company when you go out to meet customers, when you go out to meet investors, when you go out to recruit. Remember, the next guy going to be interviewed by all these people that you just hired, right? And so that is why it is super double, triply important to get the first 5 hires right. And then when you hire the wrong people, it's not just wasting the time and the money, but also you need to recover from that. You need to recover from the misalignment of cultures. You need to recover from the distraction of this guy want to pull in a different direction, sometimes get into arguments, right? So that's why my advice is that now we talk about the why, and here's the how. How do you go to great lengths to land the best ones that are often the passive candidates, hard to get to, right? They have a great job already. You need to convince them to take a pay cut to work for you, this little startup, right? So besides all the, good look and charm and, persuasive arguments, I see great leaders that are really good at recruiting people go out in great lengths. I've heard many times that they would fly out cross country just to spend half day with a candidate before they commit, right? It's like, hey, let's go hiking, let's go eat some food, let's talk about family, let's talk about hobbies, right? Let's talk about rock climbing, let's talk about, whatever sports that you fancy. I remember my coworker at Yahoo, Jess Lee, was the first female partner, got hired at Sequoia Capital, and this is probably public knowledge now that they know Jess likes cosplay, so all the partners at Sequoia Capital spend a half day doing cosplay with Jess to wow her to join Sequoia Capital. So that's why they're still the leader in the space, is that they don't let any small details slip through, and they are committed to do it right. Right. So if they can do it, your first time startup founder, why not? You should certainly do it.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Without giving away your playbook, where do you see some of the most exciting opportunities in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah. So every year, every 2 year, we visit our estimate, our prediction for future areas of investment, and we publish them in the past. And so it probably comes to no surprise for people follow us and read our blog posts and come to our events. We still strongly believe in those areas like AI, robotics, semiconductor for AI data centers, energy transition, neuroscience. But above all, I think AI is really the center source of innovation that would also depend on certain like energy or AI data center semiconductors, but also powering the advancement in these areas and force multiply scientific discovery and building incredible tools for the future. Now, where are the big opportunities, right? That's a really difficult question. So I would say that there are 2 group of people. There are lucky very few, and we're not in that lucky very few that can truly lead the change for the next 5 to 10 years, right? It could be people at OpenAI, could be people at Alphabet, could be people at NVIDIA. Keep doing that, right? we respect your work, and keep leading the changes for the next 5 to 10 years. For the rest of the people who can't lead the change, build towards the change, right? Try to anticipate the world, how the world would look like in the next 5 to 10 years. Try to picture in your mind, in your area of familiarity and expertise, what will the world look like in the next 5, 10 years? For example, like I just give a very random example. I believe in the next 5 to 10 years, autonomous driving will be commonplace. Everybody would have a AI as your chauffeur to drive you, your kids, your elderly parents around, right? So, okay, so picture that world, and what will change? Right? Will the road change? Will the parking structure change? Would car ownership change? Would home service change? Would e-commerce change? Right? Just picture all these changes and then how you can build towards that new world. And there's plenty of opportunities there.
Well, that's inspiring in and of itself. Let's take it actually a step further. If we're to double that and look at next 10 to 20 years, let's look 20 years out. And you're looking back, what impact do you hope Foothill Ventures has on the industry?
That's such a great question. So we want to build Foothill Ventures as a platform, and not just our business, but we want this platform to outlive us, right? So, we want to, at some point, take some time off to golf and to go to the beaches, maybe 10 years from now, like we'll still be working, but we're probably not going to be working 100 hours a week, or even 60 hours a week. We're going to probably work less than that in 10 years, but we want to hand it off to younger generation of investors. And then so in the next 10, 20 years, I think new leaders, young leaders will emerge for Foothill Ventures, and but we want the platform to be stronger, to always on the leading edge of innovation-driven, big impact startups, right? And then we want to grow with them. And so there's a lot of work cut out for us. And so it's amazing that every year we think about, we did a few right things, but we suck at all these other areas. So we really need to get improvement on these things. And that's how it drives us, is that we're never complacent. We always think about what else can we do that can make us better. And there are so many things we can do.
Well, this has been a wide-spanning conversation, and one thing that I picked up on is throughout the entirety of the conversation, you really illustrated the heart of Foothill Ventures. Every time you talked, you said we. It wasn't about I. And you brought up your partners. Could you actually share a little bit, just very high level, about your partners?
Yeah, certainly. So I'll start with my classmate, Jingling, Dr. Wang, Jingling Wang. It's my Tsinghua classmate, so we know each other for 20 plus years, and we tracked each other's career. We tried to recruit each other, and finally, he succeeded in pulling me into the angel investment fund, and then we decided to build Foothill together. He's very similar, PhD in optimization and a successful entrepreneur, sold 2 companies, more than $1 billion total, and just an incredible person. And then not only that, it's also my moral compass and my relationship guru. So whenever I have a challenging question about people decisions, about people trust issues, I will go to him and say, what do you think about this person? What should I do with this person? And he always give me the best advice that I can possibly ask anybody. And then Dr. Michael Jin, 3 years older than us, also from Tsinghua, is the smartest Tsinghua alumni I've met. He's such a incredible brain, incredible athlete, running marathons. He introduced me into marathon, half marathon running, and he's still in fantastic shape and outruns people that 20 years younger. And but more incredibly, he can hold so much in his brains about deeply technical details in semiconductor, in energy, in biotech. The only reason I have a job is that he doesn't bother with software, so I can do software investment alongside him. And then last but not least, Eric Rosenblum, basically, some people say we're twins. We're same year. He went to Harvard when I went to Tsinghua, and then I flew to US. He flew to China for 14 years, and
Oh my
then
gosh.
eventually our paths crossed again. He was a counterpart at Google with one of my classmates there, introduced us, and they hit it off right away. And so joined us immediately after that at our beginning of the journey, near our beginning of journey. And he's a product person, a strategy person, worked at Google and Palantir and a couple of startups, very successful outcomes as well. And so just incredible diversity, incredible learning from him. How to ask questions, how to think strategically, how to manage a sales team and product team, so on and so forth. So I'm incredibly grateful to my partners. I can't imagine doing this alone ever.
Well, I'm incredibly grateful to you for spending the time educating myself and our audience on not only the thesis but how you differ. And I think that there will be a lot of founders knocking on your door in the near future. If somebody was interested in getting a hold of you, one of your partners, or Foothill Ventures in general, whether it be a founder or anybody else, how would you ask them to reach out?
Yeah, so on LinkedIn, our website, foothill.ventures, all our names. And then on LinkedIn, you can connect to me. If you really want to reach out, email, feel free to cold email us. My email is just first name dot last name at foothill.ventures. So we're happy to learn more about your ideas. It would be incredibly effective if you read our investment thesis we publicize online, so that we don't waste your time. So if you understand what we're looking for and what we're good at or what we're not good at, and so then you can use your time more effectively.
Well, I won't say goodbye. I'll say until we do this again. Again, much gratitude for the time and look forward to a conversation in the very near future.
Thank you so much. It's an enjoyable, incredible, invigorating conversation. I look forward to next time.